What we're going to look at here is simply an example of a project that follows the criteria for your final assignment. Basically, you've got a master page and 3 pages, a home page, a map page, and a video page. Let's start into the master page. I'll just double click here. And all I want in the master page is for you to create the header and the footer, similar to a previous assignment, with a logo created as PNG with some transparency in it, pin it to the left, a menu that reflects the site. I want you to style it so that the background is transparent in all the states and that the text is different in each state as well. And I use transparencies, but you're able to use color as well as transparency. Pin that to the right. Then down in the footer, there's 3 elements. There's, again, a similar menu with the same criteria, background transparent, and have the button states differentiated. A text box that sits in the middle with your name and student number, and also add the copyright 2017 Loyalist College Canada. And down here on the lower right in the footer again, you will add the widget for following under Twitter. So that's all in the footer. Now, aside from that content, you will create 3 standard breakpoints to accommodate the content in the header and the footer. So the page size is 1200 pixels wide when you start. Then you're going to add breakpoint at 750. At this point, I want to see something change to accommodate the changes. For me, I moved the text lower here, and I actually decreased the size of the font. But I'll let those changes be up to you as the designer because you will be using your own content. But I've just made sure that everything fits and looks good. And that is your prime criteria to make it fit and look good, to avoid overlaps. In the header, I actually did something more dramatic. I replaced the large logo with a smaller logo over here, maintaining that menu element on the right. Down in the smallest of the breakpoints at 520, we took a more dramatic change in the header where I removed, or rather hid, the menu item. And I actually hid the graphic as well, and I included an accordion pull-down menu, which you've learned how to do. And if I open that up, it contains a vertical menu for the other sites. I do want you to style the colors and the states for all of these. And in my case, I created a graphic and inserted it into the top portion of the accordion. All right, so you're going to take the standard accordion, delete 2 of the 3 drawers, keep the 1 drawer for your menu. All right, and that's in the smallest breakpoint. So this is all contained inside of the master. So let's go back to the plan view. First, and home page, you're to create an area at the top with 6 photos with square boxes. So you're going to create a square image and then have 6 of them attached to each other with no space in between. I've asked you to group them together and to make them fit the width of the page. So ultimately, 6 images will fit across the 1200 pixels wide. And then we've added 4 elements to that. Along with that, 1 is a large title element that you will create in Photoshop and export as a SVG file. So it's going to be vector, therefore it can be resized to any size and will remain sharp and accurate. Then you're going to create a text box below containing a similar word count. I'd say minimum 25 as a suggestion, depending on your theme. Then you're going to include 1 large photo. And the layout, by the way, does not need to be the same as mine, but I do want to have a large photo, a large title created as an SVG file out of Photoshop, a large area with text, and then finally a smaller area with text, which I have at the bottom. This I've pinned to the center, but I do want you to pin them according to your design requirements. So if something needs to stay to the left, then you pin it to the left. Always to the page, in this case, not to the browser. And anything to the right should be pinned to the right. And of course, center, pin to the center. So I've got 3 breakpoints here. I do want you to, at the very least, replicate the same breakpoints that we have in the master. and set your graphics accordingly. Now my SVG, it is set to resize responsive width and height. I'll let you make the choices based on your designs, but I do want to see some examples where there is some responsive width and height resizing going on. You can also set some to none, of course, and that goes for the text boxes as well and the images. Okay, so if I go down to the next breakpoint, I'm just showing you here, I resized elements, and that would include the size of text box as well as the font size. And things have moved as well, but this was done in the master. So in the content area, resize, reposition, potentially repin. Go down to the smallest one here, and you can see here that I actually pushed this back to the bottom rather than down in the left, and just redid the layout a little bit. All right, so again, as the designer, you will make these choices, but the idea is that when my browser shrinks, nothing will overlap or collide. All right, so that is the home page. Over to the map page. You're to create 3 elements, or rather include 3 elements. 2 of them are widgets. One will be the map. I'll say map it to anywhere, but do use something other than the default location. I've attached the Loyalist College address to this map. I want you to put a form widget in the middle, just the simple form. I do want you to go in and customize the font to change it to Helvetica. And then add a photo or an image of your choice to complement those items. And again, these will have at the very least the same breakpoints as the master, but in this one I actually needed to include an extra one. So you do need to include extra ones if your design requires it to avoid overlaps and collisions. All right, so for me it was the form colliding with the photo. So I actually have a very quick one down here where I actually push the form down below the map. And then back to the 750 and again to the 520. And certain things such as the map were set to resize. Certain things were not. Now down here, the big difference between 750 and 520 is that the form is here, and when we get down to the bottom, it's hidden and it's replaced with a text link. And if I highlight that, I'll remind you, links for email start with mail to : and then the email address. All right, that's just standard HTML. And you are to replace it. So in other words, you're to hide this from the other breakpoints and only show it here. Whereas in the other breakpoints, we will see the form and not the text link to your email address. Okay, so that's 2 of the pages, and let's go to the video page. Video page also has 3 elements. One is a simple widget with your favorite YouTube video. Then we have a text box. And with a minimum of 50 words, I want you to describe why you like this video or what it is about this video that's appealing. And something we haven't done in a little while is to actually put a graphic in line with this. So I want you to paste a graphic in line with this and set the wrap so that the text wraps around it. Now this is not just a regular graphic. This is actually a Photoshop button. So the other requirement is that you create this Photoshop button with a minimum of 2 states, normal and mouse over. Of course, if you want to create more, that's all good. All right, and then of course, addressing the layout on at least the 3 breakpoints that match the master. So this is what's required for the final assignment. And again, you are to create it using your own artwork, your own design, and your own theme. Now, if your theme happens to be sort of a fan site, you can include, of course, I'll say in this case, copyrighted material because this is in-house. You wouldn't be able to show this publicly, but in-house, I will accept that. All right, so you're to hand this in, upload the Muse file to Blackboard, as well as uploading this live to your respective web accounts. So that's the last step, is to upload this live to your web accounts and hand in the Muse file to Blackboard. All right, and that's the final assignment.